What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, BTC. It's Miracle Monday. Got a jam-packed comic book review for you guys. Let's get into it.
Boo! You suck!
Alright guys, let's get right into it. We're doing Mr. Miracle number 9, story by Steve Englehart, and the pencils were done by Marshall Rogers and Ilya Hunch. Forgive me for not having the rest of the creative team memorized. There were some lovely people doing inks, colors, and letters as well. Always important to recognize everybody that helps create comic books, right? So, first off, before we get into the review, since this is the first episode of Miracle Monday, I would first like to explain this is a series where we are centered around, you guessed it, Mr. Miracle from DC Comics. He's my favorite babyface. I haven't read enough of Mr. Miracle. I want to grow and learn and evolve with this character. I don't know how long this series will go. I hope it's just an indefinite series for me, where we just keep going till we run out of ideas and books. But this is a great way for me to dig out books I've already purchased in my PC, to read what I already own, appreciate what I already own and collect, and that's why we're doing this. I love Mr. Miracle and I want to learn more about this character. So let's get into kind of the history, the publication history, and kind of some facts on this to catch you guys up and kind of recap where we left off from Fourth World. Now, first off, I did 2 videos on my Fourth World Omnibus. That's why we're starting with Mr. Miracle 19. I've already read those stories. It was a 2-year painful read for me. I did enjoy New Gods and Mr. Miracle, Forever People, and Newsboy Legion, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and the Newsboy Legion. I hate saying that name. They were very painful reads, so I don't really want to go through a lot of that right now. Maybe in the future we might backtrack and go through Mr. Miracle Volume 1, but as for now, we are just going to start and go forward with the Steve Englehart material. It is 6 issues, Mr. Miracle 19 through number 25. It was written 4 years later, after the end of Fourth World. Now, the way I understand it, I don't have any facts. I've never met Jack Kirby. I think he died before I was even born. Could be wrong about that, but I think he did. Definitely died before I was old enough to be able to meet him and understand who I was meeting. But the way I understand it is DC was just getting kind of tired of Fourth World. They didn't really grasp the concepts. It wasn't selling well. And really, in corporate conglomerates, all you care about is max revenue, right? It's all about maximizing your revenue and your gains. And Mr. Miracle, not Mr. Miracle specifically, but Fourth World, just all 4 properties were not doing too well from what I remember in my history lessons about this. But and then Jack Kirby left to do OMAC and Etrigan and certain things of that nature. Mr. Miracle 18 is roughly the final issue of Fourth World. It is the last issue in the Fourth World Omnibus. It's the only issue that goes past issue 12. So everything from issue 13 to issue 18 of Mr. Miracle Volume 1 kind of carries Fourth World there at the end. And then Jack Kirby would return later with Return of the New Gods, and he would also write War of the Dogs or something of that nature. I don't know the name specifically. But he would return later to officially end New Gods, or excuse me, Fourth World. But this run does neatly fit into all of that, and it's a treat that I'm getting to read this before we get into Volume 2 and Justice League International. so that the timelines are making sense. Even though I haven't even read Return of the New Gods yet, the when Jack Kirby returns in the mid-'80s to finish New Gods. I haven't read Return of the New Gods, but I have read that final trade paperback he did, and I want to have a physical copy in the PC one day. I don't think any of it's too terribly pricey, but yeah, this neatly fits into all that. Now to recap where we left off in issue 18, which was written again 4 years previous to Steve Englehart's run. Steve Englehart, with Jack Kirby's permission, wrote this 4 years later, just to kind of put that out there. I don't think I actually said that out loud in the video, but 4 years prior we had Mr. Miracle 18 and Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Spoiler alert, it's like a 50, 60 year spoiler alert by now, but they do get married. Highfather marries them, and then what do you know, in the middle of the issue, the forces of Darkseid come. Granny Goodness, Darkseid himself, Dr. Bedlam, Vermin Wunderbar, I think Gorgeous Jeffrey, I think is his name. He's like a reverend that spreads the anti-life equation gospel to the people of Earth. I know his name is Jeffrey, at least. I can't remember his moniker. But, yeah, they all come and they fight the forces of New Genesis, Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. And I believe the good guys win. And then, you know, Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, you know, get away and they go to New Genesis. Now, there is a fill-in-the-blank issue between 18 and 19 that I didn't discover about until I read it here. It's in Batman Brave and the Bold. It's referenced in an editor's note here. I want to say 353 is the issue, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me. I'll actually throw the editor's note up here. This is actually a fill-in between 18 and 19 if you want to go and read that issue. It's really just the send-off between Oberon and Mr. Miracle is what I gather. It's just kind of that issue, so it's not necessary, but if you'd like to know what happens between Oberon and Scott when they're going back to New Genesis, it's in that issue. But this seems to take place directly after all of that, you know, because we start with issue 19 in New Genesis with Scott and Barda on their honeymoon, kind of feeling guilty that they're not in battle with the New Gods and the Female Furies against the forces of Apocalypse. And they're looking at statues and they just cannot enjoy their vacation. And Highfather comes along, and Highfather says, or Mr. Miracle says something to the effect before Highfather comes up that because he's Highfather's son is probably why he's being forced to stay on New Genesis. And Highfather says, no, I'm not doing this because you're my son. I'm doing this because you endured 20 plus years of hardship and war and famine and training on Apocalypse, and you deserve a honeymoon. Essentially what he says. I'm paraphrasing here. So we see some more exposition about the origin. We're kind of retelling the origin in this first act of the book, this first scene, kind of filling in, because it's been 4 years since, you know, 18 happened, and maybe we have a whole new generation of readers that don't know much about Mr. Miracle, so it makes sense that we're providing some exposition, some backstory here about Mr. Miracle. And then we are turned to the honeymoon of Barda and Scott Free, and as they start kissing, what do you know? A boom tube goes off, and Granny Goodness, Dr. Bedlam, Vermin Wunderbar, and a fourth goon that I can't remember his name off the top of my head appear on the scene, and of course they start fighting, of course. And for it to be 4-on-2, Barda and Mr. Miracle are very formidable foes, and they definitely handle their own, but to no avail. Big Barda is captured, Mr. Miracle is defeated, and the goons get away. Mr. Miracle, tracking them with a mother box, knows that they're on Earth, so we're taken to the next scene of Oberon minding his own business, and in comes Mr. Miracle, and when Oberon swings that door open, he just says, "By Jupiter." The dialogue is kind of corny in this book, but it totally fits, and we'll detail that more later. But kind of off panel, Mr. Miracle details everything because we don't need to know what's going on with Big Barda. We're reading it, right? And of course, after Oberon's been briefed on the situation, Mr. Miracle says, "Strap on, get on my back, and we're gonna fly and get him and save Barda." They fly on the aero disc. I think that's a really cool thing Mr. Miracle has. He's just a normal dude, but he's got all these gadgets and stuff. Really cool, futuristic gadgets and stuff. He's got like things Batman wishes he has. They go from, I want to say it's Hollywood. I want to say that's where Oberon resides and where Mr. Miracle was before he left Earth to go fight New Genesis was in Hollywood. They go all the way using the mother box to track Granny Goodness and her goons all the way to an abandoned coal mine in Utah. It's pretty long distance. Granny Goodness, I think they were trying to hide. They kind of posed like they weren't trying to hide in this book. I think they were. They were trying to hide. Mr. Miracle, zooming in on the coal mine, gets smacked by, I think, a force field or something to that effect. It's the 70s. And the Granny sees that Mr. Miracle has arrived according to her plan. I don't really believe it. I believe she's been foiled. But she's one step ahead of the game. She is prepared for Mr. Miracle. She sends out a hologram of her saying that Mr. Miracle needs to leave the mother box behind. She knows he's got a mother box. She knows it gives him the advantage in any situation. He needs to drop his mother box before he can come into the coal mine. Well, the chess match is being played, right? Mr. Miracle is also one step ahead of the game. He drops the mother box off with Oberon outside the coal mine. However, Mr. Miracle comes prepared. He's got some kind of a lock pick that he conveniently hides in his upper gums. He's also got a dino thermo bomb or whatever it's called, and I think there's a third gadget I can't remember that he hides in his outfit. And then he goes inside, and it's pretty much a little bit of dialogue. Granny Goodness has agreed to terms that if he comes inside, they will negotiate Barda's release. And of course, Granny Goodness goes back on her terms. It's Granny Goodness. Of course, she's not going to agree to terms with Mr. Miracle and just let him have his wife back. Of course, and Mr. Miracle knew that. That's why he brought his gadgets in. Well, she sicks Dr. Bedlam and Vermin Wunderbar on Mr. Miracle, sends him down below the coal mine into some kind of contraption. We're not really given a lot of scenery about where he's at. Doesn't necessarily matter, though. Mr. Miracle is once again chained up and handcuffed and put into some kind of contraption. But this time he doesn't have the mother box. So it kind of elevates the danger, right? Well, like in every old age superhero or good guy versus bad guy story, Dr. Bedlam and Vermin Wunderbar mess up. They don't make sure that scot-free stays in his contraption. They leave the room. They leave scot-free to do whatever he's fixing to do. Why bad guys don't make sure good guys are deader than dead before they walk out of a room, I'll never understand. Of course, when Vermin Wunderbar and Dr. Bedlam leave, Scott-Free gets out his lock pick that he placed in his upper gums and his mouth and breaks free. And they see him running up the tunnel, up the coal mine, towards them, and Granny Goodness sees it, slams a titanium door in Mr. Miracle's face just in time, so that they can continue doing their deeds to Big Barda. Mr. Miracle is still, a chess match is being played, right? What is Mr. Miracle's move? Well, remember the Dino Thermo Bomb. He throws the Dino Thermo Bomb at the titanium door and runs in to see Big Barda in this giant Jack Kirby, just what he's known for, kind of contraption, and Granny Goodness is feeding some kind of obedience waves into her brain or something, however it works. And Big Barda is going to awake from the machine eventually, totally obedient to Granny Goodness, and Mr. Miracle is stunned. He's shocked. He's like, how am I going to get out of this? And that's essentially the end of the issue. It's noted in the end of the issue that it's a 2-part summer special for Mr. Miracle. So the next issue, issue 20, is going to tie right into issue 19, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Final thoughts and opinions. I really thought the art by Marshall and Ilyana Hunch really just flowed well with Kirby's art. Obviously, there's a difference in art styles between Kirby and Marshall and Hunch, but I still think it stayed within the aesthetic. It stayed true to the heart of Fourth World. I thought the writing stayed true. I don't know. I may have read a Steve Englehart issue before. Nothing's coming to mind right away. So I don't really have a frame of reference for Steve Englehart's writing. But I think, so I just don't know if this is his standard writing. But I thought everything just stayed true to the nature of Fourth World. This does feel like a true Mr. Miracle issue 19. And when I bought this issue to put it in the PC, because I was going to collect it anyways, I was always worried when I read it, it was going to feel jarring, because it's 4 years after issue 18 and it's a totally different creative team. How is it going to fit? And it fit perfectly. So hats off to the creative team. I really appreciate that it feels like a true issue 19 and not like a volume 2 number 1. I thought the pacing was fine. I thought the plot, this is the 70s. I'm not going to compare it to 2023 writing, right? But I thought for the 70s, for the Bronze Age, I enjoyed the chess match between Granny Goodness and Mr. Miracle. The dialogue was corny. Like in the first page, when I was reading the very first page, there's narration there, narrator blocks. And I just was reading it with that white guy from AM/FM radio from the 1950s voice, He's Mr. Miracle, one of the new guys. He could be the possible greatest new god in existence, and he's going to save the day. Like that whole voice, right? And then when I was reading Granny Goodness dialogue, I was hearing the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz voice. I'll get you, my pretty. I was like, that was like Granny Goodness' voice in my head when I was reading this story, and that's a lot to the dialogue, how kind of corny it was, but it was all fun. It was all good. It's a great read. I don't rate books anymore. I don't do any hard ratings, but I did enjoy the issue. Anybody that's into Mr. Miracle and you haven't read the Steve Englehart stuff, I would definitely recommend this. Probably not new reader friendly. This isn't where I would jump you on to Mr. Miracle, but still a great issue if you know the character already. And it's getting me excited for issue 20, which is what it needs to do. I'm ready to see what happens in issue 20 already. I want to thank you guys, as always, for liking, subscribing, commenting. Thank you for coming out for Miracle Monday, episode 1. I know it was a lengthy one, but we won't be doing so much ancillary talking. We'll get right into the issue next week for sure. And stay tuned if you care. You regulars might care. I'll do a quick screen jump, and then I'm going to do some house cleaning. Alright guys, once again, thank you for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed the review. I just would like to say Mr. Miracle, or Miracle Monday, until I start my new job, will be every Monday On Wednesdays, I will be doing Wolverine Wednesdays every Wednesday until I get my new job started. And then on Friday, I've got 3 more podcast episodes I'm going to do. In fact, either today or tomorrow, I'm going to start on WrestleMania night. For those of you who have been with the channel for a while, I'm going to be bringing it back before I start my job. I'm going to force myself to get the WrestleMania 9 podcast episode uploaded Friday. Notes, everything's going to be done by Friday. Episode's going to be made Friday. It's going to be uploaded, I promise. And hopefully before I start my job, we can get through WrestleMania 9 and 10 and hopefully have just the finale episode left to do. And that won't be too hard to do while I'm working. Now, when I'm working, it might be safe to assume that the channel might be going to a bi-weekly thing. I'm going to have, it's the 2-2-3 swinging days rotation. So, work 2 days, off 2 days, work 3 days, then off 2 days, work 2 days, off 3 days. So 1 week's going to be heavy, 1 week's going to be light. And during that light week, expect the Miracle Monday and the Wolverine Wednesdays. During the heavy week, if I don't sleep in, catching up on my sleep, I may do haul videos. So I think that random Wednesday, it might be great for me to do haul videos. Because Wednesday is New Comic Book Wednesday, and I'll just be excited to get out to the store and stuff. So we'll just have to play that by ear. But that is the schedule for now, just at least this week. Expect today, Miracle Monday, Wednesday, Wolverine Wednesday, Friday, WrestleMania 9, and then tomorrow, Neil Collects. If you've gotten this far in my video, if you watch my video, Neil Collects, I'm going to be doing your top 10 Christmas questions challenge. I'll be doing that tomorrow, so I'll fit that in there as well. And again, as always, thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting. I'll never ask you guys to subscribe to my channel, but doing so and watching my stuff means a lot. And I'll see you guys next time.